Hi, welcome to Preparing for Your Senior Year. This is Christina Winstead from the Washington Student Achievement Council. I'm the Assistant Director for Outreach. I'm really excited to talk to you, especially the class of 2021, about preparing for next year. You are now, most of you are seniors right now, like you've finished up your year, you're close to it, and you don't have to wait till September to start that senior year. There's a lot you can do now to get prepared for next year, and so we're here to help you. During this presentation, you may have some questions, and that's awesome. I encourage you, if you have questions, go ahead and just type them into the question box. When you ask those questions, what we'll do at the very end is we're going to answer all those questions. But if you have something that you want answered, just go ahead and type it in. We'll answer it at the end. The other thing is, if you have questions about financial aid, anything else that you have questions about that you maybe don't want to ask to a larger group, it's okay. At the very end, there will be my email address. You can email me, and I'm happy to answer those questions privately. Thank you so much for being here. First, I want to introduce you to our partner, the Rural Alliance, for this webinar. And we have Kevin to talk about the Rural Alliance.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for being part. My name is Kevin Jack, and I'm the Executive Director of the Rural Alliance. Rural Alliance works with small and isolated rural school districts on the eastern side of the state of Washington. We probably work with a number of your districts, work in the areas of support for principals, students, teachers, superintendents, and we just thank you for being part of this. And we look forward to helping you in any way that we can. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you so much, Kevin. We're really excited to partner with the Rural Alliance with the 12th year campaign. I just think they're a wonderful organization, and I'm so excited that we get the opportunity to work with them and be a part of this alliance to help students. So we're from the Washington Student Achievement Council, and we're a state agency. So that state agency, what we do is we really try to advance educational opportunities and attainment in Washington State, and we do this through policy and programs. So programs like College Bound Scholarship, Otter, some of you guys might be texting with Otter or know people who are texting with Otter, the 12th year campaign, Washington State Gear Up. There's a lot of different programs that we have to help students identify what their pathway is going to be post high school, and then be able to achieve that pathway and their goals. So I know that your junior year is winding down here, but there's still some things you can do to prepare for your senior year. We're really excited to offer you some resources today to help you with your pathway. The first thing is exploring your pathway. We want to make sure you look at all your different opportunities. There's so many opportunities for you out there, and you just have to explore to see which one's the best fit for you as an individual. And I say that because this is not about what's best for your best friend or what's best for somebody else. It's about you identifying as an individual what is going to be the pathway for you. In this process, for applying for financial aid, you're going to need to create an FSA ID or a WSAC account, and we're going to walk you through that today. This is something that you can do this summer to help you prepare with the financial aid process for senior year. The other piece is you might need to help your parents create an FSA ID. The other thing you might want to start doing, and there's some really cool opportunities right now, is to virtually visit college campuses and explore their programs. There's even more opportunities online right now due to COVID-19, and I encourage you, it's great to be able to look at different colleges, visit their campuses from the comfort of your own home. And I'm always going to tell students this, you guys, you're always going to hear this from me, is I want you to explore your scholarship opportunities. There are so many different opportunities for scholarships. We're going to talk a little bit about them today, but my whole goal for you, for every single student, is that you can identify what you want to do. Like, what is that thing that you love to do that earns a livable wage? Map out where you are now and how to get to that for the cheapest price possible. So I want to make sure that you can find the best opportunities for the lowest cost, most affordable cost for you, so you can get to those post-secondary goals of yours without being in a large amount of debt. I let that be my generation's kind of oopsie of taking on every student loan possible and not exploring the other opportunities. But my goal for you is that you will find what you love to do that earns that livable wage and get there for the cheapest price possible. And of course, not everything you love to do is going to earn that livable wage. You know, I love crafting. Am I going to earn a livable wage crafting? If you're saying yes to yourselves right now, thank you so much for your belief in my crafting abilities. I am horrible at crafting, but I also love financial aid. It's a real dorky thing, but I love helping students navigate this pathway. So by day, I can help students do this and earn a livable wage. And at night, I can craft things that kind of look like a kindergartner made them. So for your senior year, here's some basic things that you're going to be working on your senior year to prepare for your post-secondary pathway. For September and October, you're going to narrow down not just your list of prospective colleges, but your pathway as well. So if you're not sure if you want to do an apprenticeship or go to a technical school, or if you want to go right into career or military, this summer really is that time to narrow down kind of those options, and then narrow down those prospective colleges if you're going to be attending college. Research the college applications and their deadlines, because there are financial aid deadlines and admissions deadlines, and you want to make sure you meet both. And then October 1st, one of the coolest things happens. Not just pumpkin spice lattes, but also the financial aid applications open for Washington State as well as the federal applications. And you'll be applying for the 2021-2022 financial aid application, the FAFSA or WSAC. November, December, and January, this is really when you're going to focus on college admissions. You're going to be applying for scholarships. Again, I'm going to hound you guys about scholarships. If you ever have questions about scholarships, where you can find them, please feel free to reach out to me. I love helping students find scholarships that they can apply for. If you're going into the military, this is when you're going to connect with military representatives to make sure that you're on your pathway for military, especially if you're going to go into a military academy. So that's another admissions process. And if you're going into apprenticeships, this is where you're going to want to make sure you're exploring the apprenticeship pathway and that you understand what their application requirements are for the apprenticeship. And we'll talk more about apprenticeships in military as well. April, May, and June, this is when you'll be reviewing your award letters. If you're going to college and you have applied for financial aid, which I want every single student to apply for financial aid, this is when you're going to review your award letters. That's the letter that a college sends you. It tells you how much money they're willing to offer you to attend their school, and how much in loans, how much in grants, money that you don't have to pay back as long as you meet their academic requirements. It's going to tell you the bottom cost of how much it's going to cost for you to go to that school. And then typically schools have a May 1st decision day, although sometimes those dates are extended in times like right now. So for seniors right now, theirs have been extended to June. So this is when you're going to accept your college admissions offer, and you're going to tell that school, this is where I'm going, and you're going to start your pathway. When you're thinking about your pathways, I just want to remind you about the different pathways. Your graduation pathway options really boil down to three main options that schools are going to work with you on: career apprenticeship, military, and college and post-secondary education. And there's a bunch of different types of assessments for you in these graduation pathways. We just want to make sure that whatever your pathway is that you have the support that you need to meet that pathway and that you're on track for it. I know that a lot of people worry, like, is my pathway the right one? There's no right pathway for everybody. It's about your pathway as an individual. So I encourage you to explore those pathways by learning more about yourself. And one of the ways you can do that is using the College and Career Compass. This is a tool that you can use right now to explore who you are as an individual, colleges, career pathways, different types of supports. You sign in, you can create an account, and you can even have your information sent to colleges you're interested in. Remember that when you do assessments for interests, things like career exploration, your career quiz, things you've done for your high school and beyond plan, your interests may change. So we want to encourage you to reassess yourself to make sure you truly understand what's going to be the best fit for you, as your interests will change all throughout your life. If I were to look at my career quiz from high school versus while I was in grad school versus now, I value different things throughout those. And so I encourage you to assess yourself to make sure that you are exploring all your pathways that will lead you to a livable wage. If you're interested in apprenticeships, or if you're not sure about what are apprenticeships, I encourage you to explore them, especially if you're going into a technical field. Apprenticeships are paid on-the-job training that you can receive, but you can also get into these apprenticeships not just by applying for them, but by going to a two-year college that leads right into apprenticeship. They're offered sometimes by unions. These are wonderful opportunities to not just get trained into a career that you're going to love, but also at the same time while you're doing it, you can get paid and you can gain a lot of skills. So for some of the apprenticeships, you can earn college credit while you're doing your apprenticeship. I encourage you, if you're not sure about what career path you want to do, there are apprenticeship fairs out there that you can go to where you can try these things hands-on. I know I've taken students to apprenticeship fairs where they let me try out heavy machinery. Like I got to try a front loader out. Spoilers, I'm so glad I love financial aid because I am not meant to drive heavy machinery. I thought it would be like a video game, but it was not for me. But I had other students that loved it, and just amazingly, they were able to pick up how to do it so quickly that they were able to talk to someone from that union and that apprenticeship immediately about their opportunities. Get your opportunities to try these things hands-on. Go to T24, see if there's opportunities for you to see what apprenticeship might be the best fit for you. But if you like doing things hands-on and that's the best way for you to see if that's a good pathway, go to one of the apprenticeship fairs. They're amazing. They're so much fun. You can also explore apprenticeships by going to exploreapprenticeship.wa.gov. This is a great place to see why apprenticeships are a good fit, what apprenticeships there are out there, and learn about the jobs from people who are currently in those positions. So there's some tools to help you explore different apprenticeships. We have one-pagers right on our website at readysetgrad.wa. We also have a tool through Washington State that can help you see all the apprenticeships, and you can see not just the apprenticeship, but the location of those apprenticeships. So if you know you want to stay close to home, you can break it down by the counties, different counties, as well as the occupation. This is a great way to see what's out there for you. If you're looking at going into the military, there's a couple options available for you. There's enlisting, as well as there's going into an academy. There's two different options and they both have benefits. It's about finding the best fit for you. If you go into an academy or OOTC, you'll be graduating typically as an officer with a higher salary. So you won't be enlisting at an E1, but you'll be at a higher rank, and you'll also have some more leadership skills. Typically, these are cost paid, and for some families, this is a piece that your family has gone to these institutions for military academies, and that you're a legacy going in as well. Being a legacy is not the main reason to go to an academy, but for some students, it's one of the many reasons that they want to attend. No matter whether you're enlisting or going to an academy, you'll be working towards receiving a GI Bill, and that's something that can help pay for your education. If you are receiving a GI Bill from your parent, so if your parent tells you that they have what's called a post 9/11 GI Bill and that they can help pay for your schooling, I want you to think about your pathway as a whole. So think about what your education pathway is going to be. If you have any plans to go into graduate school, I encourage you, always apply for financial aid first. You can hold on to that GI Bill for graduate school, and that way you don't have to take out loans for graduate school. It's all about how you layer your funding. If you're receiving a post 9/11 GI Bill from your parent and have questions, your financial aid offices at your school will have a VA officer who will help you walk through how to receive those funds and how they can be applied. If you're enlisting, the military is going to pay for your needed training as well as they provide a place to live. You have job placement after you complete boot camp, and you'll have other training opportunities. There's always different options for the different types of service that are out there. I encourage you to explore not just the type of way of entering the military, but which branch you would like to be in. This is a great opportunity right now to have conversations with friends, maybe family members who have served in military service to see the benefits of each pathway. We also have resources on our website that will help walk you through different military pathways, military academies, the difference between enlisting and going to an academy, and the different branches. It also has some resources on the ASVAB test that you can take if you're going into the Army. If you're trying to explore your college options right now, I know it can be challenging with COVID-19 to not be able to go to all those campus tours in person, but there's a lot of virtual tours to help you as well. And so on here, you can go to our Gear Up site, and I'm happy to send you this resource as well, where it'll tell you all the Washington State schools and if they have an online tour or if they're willing to meet with you virtually. Do you want to look at all your options across the nation? There is a StriveScan virtual college fair going on right now. There's presentations you can sign up for. If you've missed a presentation by a college, they've recorded them. There's over 500 colleges in attendance. You can sign up through their website at StriveScan. It's free for you to attend. And you can also make an appointment with those officers from the admissions departments of the colleges you're interested in. This is a great way to see their school, learn more about them without having to travel. If you're looking to go into a technical or specialty college, there are wonderful opportunities at technical and specialty colleges. Whether you're going to a college through our community and technical college system, or whether you're going to a specific college, whether it be private or for profit. There are benefits to all different types of schools. It's all about making sure you find the right fit for you. And so I encourage you, look at our community and technical colleges first in Washington State, because you can utilize some amazing in-state funding at those. There's over 34 colleges, community and technical colleges in Washington State for you to choose from. As someone who is not just a graduate of a community college, but worked at a community college for 15 years and served as like club advisor for automotive and all the other wonderful programs they had, I encourage you to really see if there's a technical program there that you can try out for a day and explore their labs at least. But there's some great opportunities and they are very affordable opportunities in Washington State. As you're thinking about choosing a college, there's so many options out there. We have Josh Levine who's going to talk to you a little bit about some points on choosing a college.
Yes, hi. Thanks, Christina. Hi, everybody. It's truly a pleasure to share the virtual stage here today with Kevin and Christina. Rural Alliance and WSAC are doing such great work when it comes to helping students on their pathways after high school. So, like Christina said, my name is Josh Levine. I'm the founder and CEO of Admit Academy, and we are a technology company that specializes in helping students with their college search. So, Christina mentioned many of the great options you have after high school. And for these next couple of slides, I'm here to share a few points to keep in mind when it comes to choosing a college. So we're talking about specifically college search. So first of all is have a filtering mindset. What does that mean? So let's take a step back and consider a little bit of students' thought process when thinking about their college options. How do you build that list? I've spoken with some college counselors who say that students come to them with 4 to 5 schools, yet there are 4,500 schools of higher ed in the United States. How do people narrow that list down? The answer may not always be scientific. So using me as an example, when I was getting ready to apply to college, my list included several schools right by my hometown, the places my friends went, and some places I had heard of on TV. And while all of these elements are valid data points, they can end up impacting your search in ways that might keep you from finding the school that fits you personally the best. So my point here is that there's a way to have a different mindset that can help you narrow down your search to only the schools that fit you best. For example, so let's say you'd like to stay close to home, but you don't really care a whole lot about whether most of your high school classmates are in school with you. That's a data point that's different from places I've heard of. So in that case, direct your search towards schools within a reasonable drive of home, like 4 to 6 hours. And that can include places that you may not be as familiar with, even though they're relatively close to you. And the key is really think about what's important. What are your academic interests? What did you see from your self-assessments in terms of your career goals? How big or small of an environment do you want? Are sports or Greek life activities things that matter to you? And how much does having a diverse community around you matter to your happiness? By filtering this way, you can take some of the stress out of building your list and spend the majority of your energy on evaluating the places that might actually give you what you want. So the last piece here, and this is the last point on the prior slide, the last piece here is as you're thinking through your options, if the schools that are making it through your filtering process don't seem like good fits, just take a step back and take another look at your priorities. So you've narrowed it down. You've said, okay, here are the 20 schools that seem to be good fits. I don't really love how this looks. maybe the priorities that you have put into your search process didn't really reflect what was important to you. So maybe you thought having a football team would be a fun way to spend a Saturday, but it turns out that football is much less important to your happiness than going to a school with a strong reputation in environmental science. So ultimately, it's about being thoughtful and systematic with your list building process. Point number two, when you're talking specifically about further higher education, public versus private is not the only financial choice. So Christine is going to talk in depth about financial aid here in a few minutes, but just I wanted to touch on a couple of quick data points when you're thinking about finances in the context of college search. First of all, remember that students rarely pay the listed price, that big price that you see listed right on the college website. Students have access to grants, scholarships, and work study programs that can make college a lot cheaper before you even have to start thinking about loans. That's money that you don't have to pay back. Depending on the amount of aid that you get, sometimes expensive looking private schools may be able to provide enough of a discount off their main price that they can compete with other schools on their list. So especially if you're really strong academically, it might be in your best interest not to eliminate private universities altogether at the beginning. Public universities and community and technical colleges in Washington will likely be the most economical schools for people in state because of state grants and because of in-state tuition. Outside of that, so just one sort of degree of distance further, Washington is part of a system called the Western Undergraduate Exchange, which is an agreement with some other Western states to provide out-of-state tuition rates that are lower for students within a specific region than there are for students on the outside. So basically, if you're here in Washington and you want to go to school in Oregon, great. That price for you, even though you're out of state, will likely be lower than it would be for me living here in Texas if I wanted to go somewhere in Oregon. Likely, if you go even further out, if you wanted to go to University of South Carolina, the cost of a public university further away may be priced more like a private university than a public university for you coming from Washington. So just keep that in mind. Finally, focusing on outcomes, fit, and return on investment really do matter. Some of the people who struggle the most with student debt are people who drop out before finishing their degrees. So it's important to pick a school and program where you feel happy and feel like you can succeed. As you graduate and you succeed in your post-college career, that can really lead to improved financial security for you. So financial decisions are not just about initial cost, but what you get out of it. Going to a school with the right program, with a good reputation and something you're interested in. Maybe does that outweigh something, a school that's less expensive but may not have the program you want? It's hard to say, but it's something to look at. There's a lot of new ROI data that's coming to light right now that's interesting. People at Georgetown are even forecasting out 10, 20, 30 years after your college career. And what do your earnings look like at different schools? The federal government is also reporting on some of that data. So it can be, there's a lot of more nuanced analysis going on, and it can be really interesting to think about as you're moving forward. So finally, slide 3, if you're not totally sure, just ask. This process can be a little bit complicated, but and I certainly had my share of doubts when I was applying to school. But know that you have resources available to you that are there and happy to answer your questions. So this includes the colleges and universities you're thinking about yourselves. So you can reach out to admissions officers with questions. I know it can feel pretty uncomfortable, but people working at universities are invested in higher education and they do want to see students succeed. In fact, their job is to help you feel comfortable applying to your school, so you can use them as a source of information. Additionally, if you have an academic question for a professor in a specific department, don't feel shy about reaching out to ask a question of them as well. So for example, let's flip the tables. If you're a chemistry professor, you spend all your time in the lab and writing papers on advanced chemistry is your passion, all of a sudden you get an email from a student that says, hey, I'm interested in the same stuff you like. I'd like to learn more about the work that you're doing. That's not a burden, that's flattering. And ultimately, if you reach out and let's say that experience isn't as good as you had hoped, that's not a failure. It's just one of many data points for you about that specific school. So with that, final slide, please. I'm happy at the end to answer any questions you might have. I've put my contact information up here on the screen, my phone number, my email. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions of me, and I'm happy to be a resource.
Thank you so much. There's so many great points there, especially when it comes to sticker price. I want to encourage everybody to apply to the schools that are the best fit for them, even if you think it's a financial reach. With some of those private schools, I had a student that we went and did a bunch of campus tours together, and I took her to a private college that was pretty far out of her financial profile, and she didn't want to apply. But when we got to that campus, oh, she lit up. You could tell that's where she wanted to be for her next stages in life and to meet her post-secondary goals. So she did apply for admissions there and applied for financial aid. And she ended up getting a scholarship from that college that made the cost of her going to that institution, that private college, it was only $500 more than going to the public school that she was going to apply to just because it was cheaper. But the way that she lit up on that campus, we knew it was a better fit and it was a good investment for her, that $500. And she would have never applied unless she had talked to an admissions officer and learned about all the different funding options they had beyond financial aid from that school. And of course, making sure you look at all those options. Like Josh, I had like a handful of options I thought about for college that came down to what I saw in the media, where my friends were going, and where maybe some other family members had thought about going. And I didn't explore further beyond that. And I really wish that I had when I was in my junior year and senior year to think about all the other options that might have supported me as a student. And always asking questions of those financial aid officers and admissions officers. They are there to help you. They want you to succeed. And the other part is it's going to be scary to fill out an admissions application. You're putting your life on a piece of paper and they're going to tell you yes or no, and that can be frightening. But please remember that when you're applying to colleges, you're allowed to be just as selective of them as they are of you. You're going to be spending not just your money there, but a non-renewable resource, which is your time. You want to make sure it's a good fit. So you want to ask those critical questions. It's okay to email people and it's okay to ask those questions. Be just as selective of them as they are of you. When you're looking at your different colleges, one of the things you're going to want to check and see on their websites is if they are requiring admissions tests. Some colleges are going to be going test optional this fall, and that means that they're not going to be requiring SAT or ACT tests, but you want to check with your colleges to see if they are requiring one. If they are, there are some deadlines coming up for some tests. I know this week SAT and ACT are reaching out to students about fall testing options, and so you might see some more information from both those organizations if you haven't taken an SAT or ACT, or if your SAT or ACT was canceled due to COVID-19. If you're applying to a community or technical college, depending on what classes you took in high school, you might have to take the AccuPlacer test. The AccuPlacer test, you can't pass it, you can't fail it. It is just an assessment to see what level you're at for reading, writing, and math. It's because if you are placed in a class that is too easy, you will be bored and you will check out. I know, because I used to administer this test and I'd have students who tried to take a class that was easier and they just got bored. We also, in the same hand, don't want you to take a class that's beyond the skill level that you're at, because you have to build a strong foundation in those three major areas. And that test you can take typically in the spring before you start college, but there are some high school classes you can take that will waive that. You may also have taken an AccuPlacer test if you applied for the Running Start program. And for that test, it's not timed. Like I said, you can take as much time as you want. You can't pass it, you can't fail it, but you can study for it. So I encourage you to study for the AccuPlacer before taking that exam. Just a quick update for SAT testing. For the SAT, they are adding additional fall dates. So there is a new fall date of September 26th to address the cancellation of other dates due to COVID-19. They're going to reach out and let people know if circumstances have changed, if they have to do any other changes to those dates. But these are the dates that they have for fall 2020. Please check with your school's website to see if you need to take the SAT or ACT, or if your school has gone test optional. Okay, so now we're going to talk about my favorite subject, financial aid. So financial aid, it's money to help you pay for school. And this can be grants, work study, like Josh said, and we'll talk more about that. It's to help make school and your pathway more affordable. So in Washington, I know we don't use umbrellas, but we're going to talk in the terms of umbrellas. And that umbrella is that financial aid has four main categories that branch of financial aid covers: grants, scholarships, loans, and work study. Grants are income-based, and you receive them by applying for either the FAFSA or the WSAC. These can be state as well as federal funds. And what it is if you get a grant, it's money you don't have to pay back. And of course, there's fine print in life, and the fine print on this is you need to pass a certain percentage of your classes with a certain GPA. A lot of schools, it's a 2.0 GPA that you have to get so that you don't have to pay those funds back. For example, I had a student in my class that they showed up the first day of school. I was teaching at a community college, and they had me sign off on their financial aid paperwork. And then the last day of finals, so not even like during the final test, but the time you could come in and discuss your final with me, they showed up and said, "Hey, so I missed a couple days, and I was wondering if I could get more financial aid." I had no clue who this person was. I mean, I knew that they had come into class, but I saw their name. And so I asked them what had happened. They took their financial aid money and they went to Vegas and spent it. And so unfortunately, in that case, the student never attended classes. They failed all of them, and they used the money for non-educational funds. They ended up having to pay those funds back. Now, if you take a class and let's say you struggle with it and get a C- and you didn't get a 2.0, they're looking at your overall GPA. So it's not that if you get a low grade in one class, you're gonna have to pay it back. But if you, for consecutive quarters, don't meet what's called satisfactory academic progress, you could be in a situation where you have to pay those funds back. For most students, though, it is what we like to, a lot of people call it free money, but we call it gift aid that you have to be able to attend school. If you get those on your reward letter, give yourself a high five because it is a wonderful opportunity. Grants is what paid for me to go to college. It is the reason why I'm able to do something I love every single day and get paid for it. And I love our grant programs. Scholarships are funds that you apply for. You're not going to apply for scholarships through the FAFSA or the WSAC, and we'll talk about those applications in a minute. This is going to be a separate application you do, sometimes from the colleges you're going to attend. Some of your schools will have scholarships. Local businesses will have scholarships. Here's the thing about scholarships. There's a lot of money out there for students. And sadly enough, not all of it goes awarded, which means students, no one has applied for a specific scholarship and the money goes back to the scholarship committee and they don't give it to the student because no one applied. I've seen it happen. And in fact, I've had to make the phone call before to tell a scholarship committee, no one wanted your money. And I've seen some really easy scholarships out there, you guys. I'm talking like there was a scholarship for soccer. It was 4 questions long. It was, what is your name? That's easy. Do you like playing soccer? You're telling me with that question right there, I don't even have to like this sport to get this money. The next question was, what have you learned playing soccer? And how will you bring those skills to college? And so I watched everyone walk by their table and not take applications. And I finally went up to them afterwards and said, you know, I don't see anyone applying for your scholarship. I have a question. If I were just to write down, my name's Christina Winstead, sports ball, I guess so. I would learn teamwork, I think, and I'll bring that to college. Money, please. She said, oh, we would have given it to you because no one applied. She goes, we would love to have the best applicant, but if no one's applied, we're going to give it to whoever actually applied. Be the student that applies. You won't get every single scholarship, but there are some out there that you will get, and they make a marvelous difference between what you have to pay and don't have to pay back for college. Loans, this is another option that you will receive typically based on your federal or state application for financial aid. They are income based. There's 2 different types of loans. Loans can be offered as a subsidized loan. That means that the minute you start taking out that loan until you finish school, the government's paying the interest on it. Unsubsidized loan means you take out that loan, the minute you take it out, you're starting to pay interest on it. When you guys start applying to colleges and you get your award letters back, we're going to help you with some resources as well as you can make appointments to walk through award letters to see which things you should take out first and which things you should think about taking out. Finally, work study. Okay, I know the 2 words work and study together are a real bummer. They sound awful, but work study is actually this really cool program where you can work on campus and earn some money for school at the same time. What I love about work study is it is a job where they know you're a student first and foremost. So they will not make you work when you're supposed to be in school. When I was going to school, I worked full time through all of my education. And there were plenty of times when working, especially at the beginning of my educational career, that I was asked to work during major exams, during important days in school, during class. And if I didn't work those shifts, I would get in trouble. Even though I put on the schedule, I've got class at this time. It made me have to decide between earning money and being able to meet my post-secondary goals and find a career that I loved. It was very challenging. Work study was the first time in my life where during finals, I was asked, hey, you know, it looks like you have finals next week. Do you want to maybe, instead of coming in this week, do you want to study and then maybe come in during spring break? Oh my goodness, it was the first time where I didn't have to choose between work and going to school. The other thing is there's some really cool work study jobs, you guys. There are jobs in student life. I had a student that she literally put together events for other students to go to. There are jobs in things like financial aid. Maybe you're a potential financial aid nerd like I am, and you will fall in love with financial aid by working there as a work study. There's all different opportunities. You can work at the library. There's great jobs through work study, but you have to select that you want to be considered for work study to be considered. So on your financial aid application next year, it's going to say, do you want to be considered for work study? Yes, no, or I don't know. There are some schools that if you select I don't know, they won't consider you for work study. So I encourage you, you can always say yes, I would like to be considered. It doesn't mean you have to take those jobs. And even if you're awarded work study and you decide you don't want to do work study, you can decline that award. So where's all this money coming from? There's four main areas it's coming from. Our federal government, and this is funds that can be used typically at schools in most states. So if you're going to a school in Florida, you can use those funds in another state. Then there's state aid. These are funds that are for residents who are going to be attending schools in Washington state. There's funds that come from colleges, which they typically call institutional funds, that are offered at a specific school, typically by their foundation to attend that school. And then you can find funds, and a lot of times through scholarships from nonprofits, businesses, churches, things like that. I encourage you, when you're looking at what school you want to go to, there's in-state and out-of-state tuition, like Josh talked about. Look at the WUI. That's the Washington Undergraduate Exchange. It will tell you all the schools that you can attend that at an in-state cost, even though they're out of state. So if you're worried about, hey, I want to go to this out-of-state school, but I can't afford out-of-state tuition rates, still apply for them and see which ones are available through the WUI. It's a real easy way to remember it. The WUI. Some of you may have a scholarship already. You may not even remember that you applied for this because you applied for it in 7th and 8th grade. And I know that's a long time ago. But if you are a college-bound student and have a college-bound scholarship waiting for you, this is where it really is going to benefit you. What the college-bound scholarship is it combines with other state funding to cover the average cost of tuition, and it's at public rates. So it's a Washington state school that you're going to go to. And if you want to go to one of the private schools in Washington state, they're going to offer you the tuition rate of the highest public rate. So University of Washington or Washington State University, that's the highest rate they can offer. And there might be a difference between that tuition rate and the private school's rate. The cool thing is some of those private institutions are actually offering scholarships to cover the difference for college-bound students. It's also going to cover some of your fees and a small book allowance. This can be used at over 60 schools, 2-year, 4-year private and public universities in Washington state. So the big catch on this is they are for Washington state schools. It's a 2-step process. So you signed up in middle school. If you have ever been from the age of 13 on enrolled in foster care, you are automatically enrolled into this program. Your next step is going to meet the College Bound Pledge. That means you need to meet the income requirements by applying for financial aid. So you have to fill out a financial aid application. You also need to be accepted to attend an eligible college, and you have a year from graduation to be able to do that. So you can take a gap year if you want to and still utilize your college-bound scholarship. The big thing I find with this is just making sure that you know what your plan is going to be. You have 5 years to use 4 years of funding. So it works for all 4 years. It's a wonderful program. If you're looking for other funds, the Washboard is a great tool to find other scholarships. You can find scholarships on here that have been vetted, which means we've researched the scholarship to make sure it's a legitimate scholarship. The biggest thing on these is if you're applying for financial aid and scholarships, if they try to charge you money for either of those processes, for financial aid or for scholarships, you need to pause. You can send me a screenshot. I'm happy to tell you if that is a legitimate scholarship or financial aid website or not. The reality is going to be If they are charging you money to apply for financial aid, it's the wrong website. It's a free application for financial aid. It's not the $80 whatever it is. It's free to apply for financial aid and it's free to apply for scholarships. If you are on a site that's charging you, please contact me. The federal government got several shut down not too long ago. Something that's new and available to you, you'll be the second class of students who's able to access the Washington College Grant. The Washington College Grant is providing more funds for more students in more programs. I am so excited about this program because it expanded financial aid eligibility to more families and more income levels. If you're a family of 4 who's making around $50,000 or less, you're going to receive a full tuition award. You just have to apply for it by applying for financial aid. And if your family of 4 is making $97,000 or less per year, you're going to get some sort of gift aid, some sort of partial grant. That's where the big changes happen. So you may have had a sibling that is attending college now that your family applied for financial aid for and they didn't get aid. I encourage you, if you have any other siblings that are going to college and you're going to college next year and you don't think you're going to get aid, apply just to see. You only know if you're going to get aid if you apply for financial aid. So applying, you only have to do one application. There's two applications we have in Washington State. We have the FAFSA and the WSAC. The FAFSA is a federal application for free aid. It's free. Again, free is the first word in there. So it's the federal application. The WSAC is the state application. The reason why you only do one is because when you apply for the FAFSA, you're going to be receiving state and federal aid. If you're applying for the WSAC, you're just going to be considered for state aid. Students who have a social security number or who are from a freely associated state like the Marshall Islands are able to apply for the FAFSA. The WSAC is eligible for students who are undocumented or who don't meet status for financial aid, but meet Washington State residency requirements. So even if you're undocumented, you can apply for the WSAC and be considered for state aid. And we're really fortunate at Washington State because our state actually provides more aid than the federal side. So the FAFSA is for both state and federal aid. The WSAC is for just state aid. Okay, for the financial aid application for the FAFSA, I really encourage you to apply on their website or through the app. So there's 3 ways to apply: the website, the app, or the paper application. The website is easy to access, but for some students, if you're only having access to the internet on a phone, you can apply through your phone. The paper application takes longer to process, but it's a really good option for those who are incarcerated. So if you yourself or if you know somebody who is incarcerated who wants to complete the financial aid process or needs any of these resources, I have actually taken all the resources that we are providing and I've made them into a format that's acceptable to any of the correctional high schools, including workbooks that don't have staples, things like that. I'm happy to send these to you. The 12th year campaign serves all seniors, every single student. That includes our incarcerated youth. If you know someone who's in that situation, please have them reach out to me. I am happy to help them get the resources they need. And depending on where they're located, sometimes I even can visit and drop stuff off. So just some quick financially important facts. October 1st, this is the big day. That's the day financial aid opens. Now, I'm not saying that you have to sit on your computer, on the last day of September at midnight, it clicks over and you have to do the application. What I'm saying is, that first week of October is a great time to get your application done. There's a lot of events that can help you complete your application for free by providing professionals to help you with the process. You want to apply early to make sure that you're not just maximizing your aid opportunities, but also to address any errors in your financial aid application that might occur. For class of 2021, this is going to be weird, but you're going to be completing the 2021-2022 FAFSA WSAC because you're applying for financial aid for the year that you'll be going to college. The most common error, which we'll talk about in a second, is students applying for the wrong financial aid year. When you go in to apply for financial aid in October, there's going to be 2 years available. Financial aid for students who are going to college this current year and students who will be going to college in the year of 2021, 2020, 2022, which is the year that you'll be going to college. When you do this, you'll be providing income information from 2019. So they're going to be asking for information from the prior year. When you're doing your application, just some common things that are mistakes that are easy to fix, and we can help you fix any errors. No matter what you do, we can help you fix the errors on your application. But the best thing to do is to do it slow and not have those errors in the first place. Make sure that you're entering entering your legal information in. If you're using a social security number, make sure it matches what's on your card. Take a look at your social security card and make sure that it's accurate. Last year, I found 4 students who had misspelled information on their social security card that they were unaware of. So when they sat down and looked at it with their parents, they realized, oh, that's not my middle initial. Well, that's not how my name's spelled. It can take a little time to fix those things. So I encourage you, that's something you can do this summer. Just make sure your legal information is correct. Making sure you select that correct financial aid year, using the right tax information, and then completing your application. You might be required to provide parent information. Most students under the age of 24 are considered dependent students, which means they provide parent information on the FAFSA or WSAC. And so making sure your parents provide the correct information. If you are in a mixed status family where you're able to apply for the FAFSA, but your parents are undocumented, that's okay. If they don't have a social security number, they're just going to put zeros in instead of their social. The financial aid application is for you as an individual, so it's not looking at anyone else's status but your own. If you're undocumented, then you're just going to work on the WSAC instead. If you're doing the FAFSA, your FSA ID is that first step for financial aid. You're going to use this to apply for financial aid every single year. This is just basically your login, but it's a legal document. You're going to need your social security number, your name, your birth date, that general information, as well as an email address that you're going to have access to after you graduate from high school. You'll use it to digitally sign your FAFSA, as well as access information about your student loans when you're in college. Your parents are also going to typically need to create an FSA ID if they can. If they don't have a social security number, don't worry. They can sign a paper copy of the financial aid application and send it in. If you are considered dependent, then your parent will need to sign your application. Students will also be considered independent if they have been in foster care after the age of 13, if they are at risk for homelessness. There's a bunch of different situations that will make you an independent student. When you're doing the financial aid application, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions, which is called a dependency determination, and they will go through it and determine if you need to provide parent information or not. For most students, they will have to provide parent information, so you can help your parents create an FSA ID if they haven't already this summer, and then you'll have it for October when you're ready to go. So we know that there's special circumstances in financial aid, and so I want to encourage you. I know we're asking for 2019 taxes next year for your financial aid application, and we know that that may not reflect your family's current financial situation. That's okay. You're going to submit your financial aid application with your 2019 information, and then you're just going to contact the college and ask for a special circumstance change. So if your family has lost income, especially due to COVID-19, we can actually connect you with a software program called Swift Student that will actually walk you through the award letter template, so you can actually see how much money you've been offered when you get your award letter, and then you can appeal that, or you can appeal it earlier on before you get your award letter. It's a template that you put in general information, and then it creates this really cool, compelling letter for you to your financial aid department to help them make a determination. You can also use this if you are having problems with financial emergencies, changes in circumstances. If you are considered if you're considered dependent on the financial aid application, but that's not reflecting your actual family situation, there's other things going on, you can actually write them a letter with this tool to exclude parent information, and they'll tell you the different circumstances you can be in for them to override that. It's a great tool. It's free. Information is not shared with any other party, and you can download these letters into Word format and send them to your schools. So your next steps, class of 2021, I mean, really this starts now, exploring your options. See what options you have out there. Think big, dream big. There's so many different pathways. Talk to your counselor to make sure you're on track for graduation, for your graduation pathway. Determine which financial aid application you're going to use. So if you're not sure if you're supposed to use the FAFSA or the WSAC, and remember, you're only going to do one application, just the FAFSA or the WSAC, you can assess yourself for eligibility at readysetgrad.wa.gov, and it's just /WSA-ELG. And it's just going to assess you with a couple questions to see if you qualify for the FAFSA or the WSAC. Then once you find out which application you're supposed to do, you can either create your FSA ID for the FAFSA, or you can start creating a WSAC account by going just to the next steps on that same eligibility tool. We have some resources available to you. I know that this can be a scary process and it's a lot of information coming to you all at once. We have college knowledge books that we're happy to send you physical copies. We have Spanish and English and physical copies, or you can download any of the copies and they're in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, Somali, and Russian. Those are the top 5 spoken languages in our families from K-12 homes. This is really cool because it covers freshman through senior year. So if you have a sibling at home who's in school right now, order one for them too. And at the end, I'll give you guys my email address and phone number. You can either call me or you can email me and just tell me which items you want. And I'm happy to send you copies. If your parent wants a copy of this as well, we're happy to send that too. Just let me know what we can send you to help you make a decision on your pathway and be supported in it. The next resource is a book specifically for juniors and seniors. And what this does is it walks you through all the things I just talked about. It has tools and resources to walk you through admissions and financial aid and help you navigate it. Again, if you have friends you want to order for these as well, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to send a copy to you, to your friends, whoever needs copies of these. If you're an educator who's watching this as well, I'm happy to send you a classroom set of those books. Please feel free to reach out and I will send them to you and you can provide them to your students. If you have ever been in foster care, a youth in care, or an alumni of care, there is a resource here called Fostering College Knowledge that walks you through all of the different resources out there for you as someone who's been in care, including scholarship opportunities, how to extend your foster care after the age of 18, other considerations. I'm happy to send this out to you as well. If you are a teacher and you're working with students who are in care or with foster parents, I'm happy to send these out to them as well. And you can also find it digitally right online. Finally, if you have questions about financial aid, if you have questions about this process, if your family, I know this can be scary and it can be a family decision. If your family also wants to make a meeting with me, you can make a 30-minute appointment right online at Canterbury/12th year. I have 30-minute appointments available. I'll be doing this all summer and into next year. If you get stuck next year in this process and you're trying to fill out your financial aid and you're like, what do I do? Feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help. And sometimes, depending on what's going on with this world, I'm actually traveling and I can meet you at your school. If you need physical copies of any of these resources, or if you know somebody who couldn't watch this webinar because of internet access, I have copies of all of this information, including the webinars, on flash drives, and I'm happy to send them to you. You can email me at christinaw@wasac.wa.gov, or you can call me 360-753-7856. Just leave your name, your mailing address, and the resources you want sent. I send materials every Tuesday. And with that, we have an amazing associate, Sam Washington, the genius behind our otter, and he's going to be reading your questions off from today.
Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. So we do have a couple of questions waiting that I will share with the group, and we'll have those who are on the call to help you students weigh in. The first question we have is, if I'm attending college virtually, can financial aid help me with purchasing technology?
That's a great question. So I know that some students are looking at attending college online or what their options might be due to COVID-19. And you can ask for an adjustment in your financial aid, what's called your cost of attendance. And so what happens is they determine how much is it going to cost for you to go to college. And then what they can do is sit down and look at what it's going to cost with you going virtually. So if you need to pay for a laptop, I've had students who are this year who are unable to attend on campus anymore. They were using the library. They no longer can use that. They were able to go to their financial aid office and ask for an adjustment of their cost of attendance so that they could purchase a laptop. So it is one of the things that you can use. It's part of your cost of attendance, but you do have to reach out to your financial aid office.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that, Christina. All right. The next question is, are colleges offering student activities virtually?
This is a great question, because I know, like, when you think of college, you think of all the cool things that they do during college. And I am finding colleges are offering a lot of virtual opportunities, different I know Grace Harbor College has different theme quiz nights that you can do from home. And if you win, they send you your prize. They just like, oh, they had a Friends quiz the other day, like, oh, come to our quiz night. It's going to be on the show Friends. And if you win, you get a $25 gift card to our bookstore. So I know that they're doing activities online, as well as they will assess what activities they're able to offer quarter by quarter, depending on guidances from CDC and their school themselves. So there are some really cool virtual things that they are doing online. I'd encourage you to see at the schools you're interested in, reach out to them, to their student life office, to see if you can participate in some of those activities now, so you can get a feel for what the online student life is like.
Awesome, that sounds perfect. And again, if you guys have any more questions, what we've had so far has been great. Just feel free to drop them in the questions section as part of the webinar, and we will be happy to share them with the group so we can get them answered. Here we go. We have another one coming through. Question is, can I still participate in clubs and activities if I am a commuter student?
As someone who was a commuter student, you can. When you pay student fees, that's what's paying for a lot of the clubs and activities. You are paying those costs. You are entitled to all the same activities as other students, even if you're not spending the night there on campus. So if you're a commuter student, you can still do all those things. You are eligible for all the offices that you can be in different clubs. The cool thing about clubs is if you find that you have a passion or interest that's not represented in student clubs and activities, you can actually reach out to the Student Life Board and see what the requirements are to start a club. So when I worked at the community college, the automotive students didn't have a club. They really, really wanted a club. And the only thing they needed were 5 other students who loved cars and 1 club advisor. And so they came to me and they're like, we know that you're not an automotive instructor. Is there any way you could be a club advisor? Of course, I was happy to be a club advisor. And those 5 students made a very small club turn into a huge opportunity. We ended up taking students to Skills USA competitions across the nation year after year. In fact, one of our students took first in the nation. And it was all because 5 students got together and said, we love cars, but that's not represented in the club list. And so, and because it's community college, they were all commuter students. I encourage you. Clubs and activities are so much fun. It's a great way to meet new people. You know, you're going to be going to college and you're not going to a school with the same people that you've been with before. You're going to be meeting people based upon your interests, your passions, your common goals in life. And so it's hard sometimes at first to figure out, where are these people? Getting involved in campus is a great way to start that. And if you get a work study job, you can also work in those areas too.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, it's also a great way to do some career exploration as well.
Oh, definitely. It's also a great way to have, we know that when you're in college, money can be tight. Let's not kid ourselves. We joke about it as the ramen years. It's real. It's a real thing. Money's going to be tight when you're in school. Clubs and activities allow you to stretch your dollars. A lot of those activities, number one, have food, and it's good food. Number 2, they allow you to go travel places for a low cost. So I know that when I worked at the community college, students could go to Whistler for a fraction of the cost. So they can go skiing, stay up at the resort up there for a fraction, because the school was subsidizing the rest of the cost. So they can go for $100. I know that the bus up there, lift passes, the hotel was way more than $100. But students got these really amazing winter breaks doing things like that. You know, they go to Leavenworth for the tree lighting ceremony, and it was all reduced cost. So I encourage you, like, make sure you get involved. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome, thank you. And just remember, all of you students here on the webinar, if you guys do have questions that you want to keep private, you can definitely reach out to Christina personally via the phone number or the email address she provided. We do have another question in the chat that asks, if parents are divorced, do both incomes come into play with regards to financial aid?
That's a great question. So when you're applying for financial aid, they're going to determine who your parent is for financial aid purposes. And it can be different than who your parent is on taxes and all these other different ways. So if your parents are divorced, it's going to ask you, of the two parents, which one do you live with the most? And then if that parent is not remarried, it's just that one parent. If the parent is remarried, it's going to be the parent and their spouse. So it'll be your parent and step parent, their income. So it's whoever you live with the most, whatever household you live with the most, that's going to be who they're going to consider. And as you get closer to applying for financial aid, we are happy to help you with those resources to walk through who your parent is for financial aid. The 12th Year Campaign has, last year over 150 events across the state that had free assistance for financial aid through our College Go Washington program.
Yes, and to add on to that, we are available to help students no matter the time of year. As you guys are going through this process, feel free to reach out to us as these questions come up. It is an ongoing process throughout your senior year, so we're definitely here to support you that whole time. It looks like that was our last question. We can hang out for just a couple more seconds to see if there's anything else coming through. But these have all been really great questions. I think it's very helpful for not only those who ask, but for those who might have the same questions or don't even know they have the same questions.
While we're waiting for any other questions to come in, I just want to thank you so much for being here and attending our town hall. I know that this can be a really exciting time, but there's a lot to do, and I'm really excited for all the pathways you're exploring. And if there's any way that I can help, that the 12th Year Campaign can help, we are here to do it. We're working all summer, so if you have questions, I've had students email me very wee hours in the morning. I got a message last night at about 1 in the morning because a student didn't know a lot about the financial aid process and thought it was too late. It's never too late. You always can apply. You might miss a deadline, but there's a lot of resources out there, and please consider us one of those resources. So if there's no other questions, I don't see any others coming in. Do you have any other on there, Sam?
Nope, looks like there's no more questions.
Thank you so much for joining our town hall. Again, feel free to use us as a resource. Thank you for being here, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
For sure. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Josh and Kevin, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Josh and Kevin.
Thanks. This was great. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Take care.